The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, a dyed-in-the-wool romantic who's been doing the online dating thing for a while comes across a profile of an attractive young woman. They start up a flirtation. Her emails and texts are funny and smart. He starts to wonder if maybe he's finally met the one. But the encounter he has is far from romantic. Meet Bill, salesperson by day and aspiring filmmaker by night. Handsome, charming, charismatic. He moves from Florida back to his hometown of Saskatoon, Canada, where he meets his future wife online. She's drawn to his fanciful personality and love of dressing up as fictional characters. Bill also has a dark side. And since a young age, he's identified with the bad guys rather than the heroes of anything he's watched or read. When he discovers a television show about a blood spatter specialist who also happens to be a serial killer, he's finally found someone he can truly identify with.
During the 25 years I worked for the FBI, I came across a lot of real mopes. One thing that always stood out for me was none of them ever thought of themselves as villains. Think about that. No, they were always the hero in their own story. It was the world that didn't understand.
His obsession with the TV show grows. He binge watches the series, reads all the books. He even starts a show-themed online page with the status update which says, "Bill has way too much in common with his hero." Then, one day, he decides to take his TV show obsession to the next level. He begins to blur fantasy and reality in a chilling way. Bill rents a garage in the suburbs of Saskatoon, which he turns into a kill room, just like the one his TV hero has, including plastic-covered walls to catch the blood splatter and the table on which to execute his victims.
By the time we become adults, most of us have seen hundreds of simulated murders on TV. Most people think, well, that's entertaining, and move on with their lives. But every once in a while, some deranged psycho comes along and says, wow, I think I'd like to try that.
This isn't how my life was supposed to end.
Well, this is how it's gonna end.
And cut. Good job, guys. Okay. Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Bill makes a short film called The Kill Room. It's about a screenwriter who lures people to his garage to kill them. It's part of his research for a feature-length movie he's making.
We're gonna roll on another take and we'll see how it goes?
Yep.
Okay.
Some say life imitates art, some say art imitates life. In this case, it's life imitating TV, and not necessarily all that well.
Soon, Bill finds mere reenactment isn't enough. As his marriage starts to fall apart, his obsession with murder grows. And the more research he does, the more he realizes he embodies many of the traits that serial killers have: emotional detachment, selfishness, and a tendency to lie. He sees a psychiatrist who says he's fine, perfectly normal.
You are such a fool.
At this point, he decides to turn his fantasy into reality. and become a real serial killer, just like his television hero.
So here's a man hell-bent on becoming a serial killer, and he goes to a trained professional who declares him normal. It's an odd word to use, unless by normal you mean capable of luring somebody to his garage, then killing and dismembering them. By that standard, oh yeah, Bill is completely normal.
Bill is very familiar with online dating sites. It's how he met his wife. He browses a popular site posing as Diane, a smart and beautiful young woman. It's a bait he hopes will attract some lonely single fish. And it's not long before he gets his first nibble. Meet Rick, 33 years old, recently separated, new in town, lonely. When he sees the online profile of Diane and finds out she wants to meet, he can't believe his luck. He agrees to meet Diane at an address that turns out to be a garage. A little odd, perhaps, but he figures it'll be fine.
Just a little word to the wise. I'm not even saying this as former law enforcement, just as a person in the world with a bit of common sense. If you answer an online dating ad, make sure you meet at a public place where there are lots of people. Do not, listen to me, do not agree to go to a garage in the middle of nowhere.
Hello? Diane?
And if you do that, and if the garage door is open, and if it's dark inside, don't just think, it should be fine, and go in. Use some survival instinct.
Diane? Diane? Diane, are you here?
You are such a fool.
Rick's not going to give up without a fight, but the effects of the stun gun have kicked in, and he finds his legs aren't working properly. Then, Bill pulls a gun.
But it was a toy gun, just a prop. Why Bill would pull a toy gun on someone he plans to kill is anybody's guess. Maybe Bill was hoping to scare Rick into submission so he could finish him off. But he underestimated how powerful the instinct to survive can be. As they say in the squad bay, rookies make rookie mistakes, and Bill was definitely a rookie when it came to killing.
Rick manages to get outside the garage. Suddenly, he finds use of his legs. He makes a run for it. Rick knows if he winds up back in Bill's kill room, he's done for. And miracle of miracles, he sees a young woman out for a walk. Rick survives an attempt on his life, but he never reports it to the police. He simply vanishes. The woman who found him reports the incident, but the police don't take the complaint seriously and never follow up.
It might be hard for some people to understand why Rick would not go to the police after being attacked in a garage by a man in a hockey mask. But never underestimate the power of one of the most primal human emotions. You know the other ones, greed, fear, and lust. But in Rick's case, the big one was shame. He was just too embarrassed to admit how badly he'd been duped.
Bill botches his first attempt at becoming a serial killer in the style of his TV hero, but he isn't going to let that stop him. He begins a computer diary called Mass Murder Files, which describes his crimes in semi-fictional fashion, changing names and some details, but mostly sticking to the facts. A diary that includes the words, "This is a story of my progress into becoming a serial killer."
Why would Bill detail his crimes in a diary on his computer? Because he's arrogant. It's hubris. It's that pride before the fall. So many of these criminals think they're so smart, so much smarter than police. And they're just not.
Just 1 week after his first murder attempt failed, would-be serial killer Bill is back on his computer creating another bogus online profile. And he soon finds his second would-be victim, a man named Fred. Friends describe Fred as caring and trusting, with a great work ethic and sense of humor.
Trust is a wonderful human quality, but it's overused. In actuality, it needs to be cultivated over time. People are not always who they say they are, and that's never been more true than when you're talking about online communication. Sometimes it pays to be a little suspicious. Like, say, when an online date suggests you meet in a garage in the middle of nowhere.
This time, though, Bill has changed his modus operandi. He tried to taser his first intended victim, Rick, with a stun gun, but Rick managed to get away. This time, he's using a lead pipe with hockey taper on the handle, so his grip doesn't slip when he swings it.
Julie? Julie, are you there? Julie?
This time, he's successful. Fred will not be walking out of that garage.
So Bill failed the first time around, and that person continued to live. And now he succeeded. Congratulations, Bill.
Bill, the wannabe serial killer, now has his first victim. All he has to do is cut up the body, which he does using a hunter's game processing kit, and then dispose of it. After a while, Bill, realizing Fred's friends might wonder why he's suddenly gone silent, decides to reach out to them. Using contacts he finds on Fred's phone, he sends them an email blast. Bill writes that he's met an amazing woman named Julie, and that they've taken off to Costa Rica for a long romantic vacation. The only problem, it sounds nothing like Fred. Roger, who has known Fred for 10 years, becomes especially concerned.
Hey Fred, it's Roger here. I just got your text message. If you can give me a call back, that'd be great, mate. Anytime, thanks.
The two of them are in almost constant communication, and the guy he knows would never leave town without telling him.
Yes, hello, can I speak to a detective, please?
He reports his concerns to authorities. Frustrated that police won't look into Fred's disappearance, Roger decides to take matters into his own hands.
Hey Fred? Fred, you home, bud?
He breaks into Fred's house to see if he can figure out on his own what happened to his friend. Inside Fred's apartment, Roger finds his suitcase and passport.
Hello, yes, I'd like to speak to a detective, please.
Who am I speaking to?
Reported my friend Fred missing. I see his passport here. He couldn't have gone on vacation.
Can you tell me a little bit more?
This time, they take him seriously.
You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to deduce that the nice long vacation in Costa Rica is a complete crock. Well, it's a complete crock. Now we finally see someone using their instincts and not just trusting everything is the way it appears. It's too late for poor Fred, of course.
Hey, Detective Floyd. Thanks for seeing me on short notice.
When's the last time you actually spoke to Fred?
Just the other day, he was really excited.
Detective Floyd launches a formal investigation into Fred's disappearance.
He just told me he met some woman online. He sent me this the other day before he was going on his date.
He learns that on the night Fred went missing, he sent Roger a text message saying, "If something happens to me, here's the address of where I'm meeting my date."
And do you know this woman he was going on a date with?
No, I never saw her or met her.
So something did ping on Fred's radar about going to meet a date at a garage in the middle of nowhere. Clearly, he heard a little voice saying, "There's something odd about this." It's just too bad the little voice didn't speak a little louder.
Detective Floyd contacts the owner of the garage that was Fred's last destination, Bill. Even though police don't have a warrant, Bill is only too happy to show them around. He even volunteers to come into the station for questioning.
Mind if I record this, or?
No, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. The reason I brought you in, we actually received a complaint last week, a possible assault in the area of your rental facility. Just wondering if you saw anything suspicious.
No. Just making movies, man. That's what I do there.
Oh, you're a filmmaker?
I'm a filmmaker, yes.
In these types of investigations, with very little to go on, a good investigator has to analyze all the little details. You study the suspect's body language, his demeanor, and you have to remember, this is the same guy who fooled a psychologist and a therapist into thinking he was normal.
What type of movies do you make?
Well, it's working on a really good script right now.
Yeah?
It's,
Tell me about it.
it's kind of a personal project. I don't really want to give away the plot.
For now, at least, Bill is eliminated as a suspect. But then Bill makes a crucial mistake. He brazenly volunteers some unnecessary information to the police.
Hey, it's Bill from the garage. I forgot to mention something. Yeah, the other week, some guy was in a hurry to sell his car. He sold it to me for about 40 bucks, saying he was getting hitched by some rich girl who was gonna be taking care of him. I just thought I'd mention that to you.
Can you believe the story this guy is selling? I mean, we're supposed to believe this? If this doesn't make you look real hard at old Bill, I don't know what will. And did I mention he volunteered all of this? Honestly, remember what I said about pride before a fall?
Now the police are on high alert. They issue a TV appeal for the victim of the failed murder attempt to come forward. It's been several weeks since the attack. And now, Rick is finally ready to tell his story.
All the walls were covered in like plastic. This guy comes out and he's wearing this like a hockey mask. It hit me right with the stun gun. I was able to just boot him off. Rolled right under the door and got up and I just ran.
That was over 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Why the delay in coming to the police?
I don't know. I was just shocked about it. To be honest with you, I was a little embarrassed. I mean, it seems so obvious now. You know, I'd never even talked to this woman on the phone.
It's enough to get a warrant to search Bill's car and his home. On Bill's laptop, police find a document named Mass Murder Files, a blow-by-blow account of Bill's crimes, right down to every last detail.
Of course, he deleted the file before investigators show up. But when will people realize that nothing is ever truly deleted? Anyway, I'm glad criminals haven't figured this out. I mean, don't tell them, because it's one of our handiest tools. Retrieving so-called deleted files is easy. Just get a police nerd in front of it, we recruit them, and a couple of keystrokes later, boom, we got everything we need.
He describes how he built a kill room with plastic on the walls, the failed attempt on Rick's life, the murder and dismemberment of Fred.
The circumstantial evidence piles up, But without forensics, without DNA, without a body, you got diddly. And that's what these guys had, diddly squat.
Police set out to build a case against Bill. They search his garage and find movie props including handcuffs, knives, and a movie script which reads as an homage to his television serial killer hero called The Kill Room. Then they find evidence even more damning. Forensics technicians use luminol to detect over 200 bloodstains on the floor. They also find a pair of bloody jeans and a chilling to-do list that contains the item, tidy kill room.
You gotta love that. Typical guy, right? Writing himself notes all along. Tidy kill room. But he doesn't do a good enough job. Don't tell anybody, but they'll never do a good enough job. We get everything. And then he forgets to do his laundry. Oh, and here's another potential note to self. While you're tidying up the kill room, maybe throw out the note that says, tidy the kill room.
It's enough to get him arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He never confesses to the crime, but never denies it either. Investigators know he did it, but they still don't have a body. Eventually, after several months in prison, Bill tells them at least where to find Fred's body. In the end, he admits to the murder, but maintains that he killed Fred in self-defense as part of a publicity stunt for his movies.
If you're going to try and pull off a nose-stretcher story like that, maybe don't try to cover it up afterwards. I mean, I'm no Hollywood mogul, but as I understand it, the concept of a publicity stunt is that you actually make it public. The moral of the story? It's important to know the difference between fact and fiction. Bill idolized a fictional TV character and lured men into his kill room with a fiction of meeting their dream date. But the fact is, he committed a heinous crime and was put away for those crimes. And those facts, like all facts, speak pretty loudly for themselves.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, when a young woman is murdered, detectives follow the bizarre trail from takeout tacos to a bachelor party. And just when they start to think the killer might get away with murder, they uncover the truth behind the vicious attack and find themselves smack dab in the middle of a Shakespearean tragedy.
My love, and I am no longer a Capulet.
Rob, a 29-year-old former first responder, has failed to show up to his uncle's house for dinner. When he calls his cell, it goes straight to voicemail. Worried about his nephew, Mr. Simons drives over to the apartment and lets himself in with the spare key.
Robbie! Robbie, you okay?
Rob's apartment looks tidy, but his nephew is nowhere to be seen. When he looks in Rob's bedroom, he's horrified. He sees the body of a young woman prostrate on the bed, and on the front of her t-shirt, the words, "She's all yours," are scrawled in black marker.
Yeah, can you send someone?
When you've worked as many crime scenes as I have, you often see the killer leaving some kind of message. This one seems to suggest the suspect was leaving a note for another lover. Love triangles are one of the most common motives for murder. So the killer is essentially saying, I don't want her anymore, you can have her. But of course, they can't, for obvious reasons.
When police arrive, they survey the scene. The young woman has been stabbed, her pants cut off, suggesting a sexual assault. A knife is on the bed, likely the murder weapon. At first glance, she's been stabbed several times in the back. Under the body, a cell phone, presumably the victim's.
Detectives are looking for the murder weapon or weapons. These are the most obvious clues found at a crime scene that can lead to the killer. But just because there's weapons found near the body, it doesn't necessarily mean they were used in the crime.
The victim is 21-year-old Lisa. Born to Italian immigrants, she's a kind and caring young woman who always looks out for her friends. And one of those friends is Rob. Lisa and Rob met at college. They became close when she offered to tutor him.
So right now, this isn't looking so good for Rob. His close friend is found dead in his bed, and he is nowhere to be seen. Detectives are putting together the pieces of this puzzle, and it looks like Rob may have had some romantic feelings towards his friend. If those feelings were unrequited, bam, there's your motive.
Mr. Simons tells detectives that Rob couldn't have committed this crime. He's been taking a break from his work as a first responder due to a work-related injury. According to Simons, he's been suffering with PTSD and was having nightmares. But the meds seem to be helping. He insists that Lisa and Rob were extremely close friends, more like brother and sister, and they had no romantic inclinations toward each other. In fact, Mr. Simons is concerned that Lisa's killer has kidnapped his nephew and that he is in imminent danger.
In my experience, it's very common for relatives of criminals to deny their loved one did anything wrong. You'll often see daddy or auntie come swooping into their kid's defense when all the evidence points directly to their precious little Johnny.
As detectives search the crime scene, they develop a different theory. They find no signs of a struggle in the apartment. If someone subdued Rob, they believed the young, strong first responder would have put up a fight. They also find his car and his passport missing. But what really seals Rob's fate are the text messages on Lisa's phone. They reveal a distressed Rob reaching out to Lisa in the early morning hours.
More and more signs are pointing to Rob. He has a dead girl in his apartment, his passport and car are missing, and now messages on Lisa's phone show him inviting her over. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out he's your prime suspect. You know how the saying goes, if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck.
Detectives dig deeper into Rob's life and learn some alarming details. Right before becoming a first responder, Rob was involved with a bad crowd. He was arrested along with his friends and charged with assault. He was eventually acquitted and exonerated of the crime, but detectives are still alarmed.
Just because you've been acquitted of a crime doesn't mean you didn't do it, and the cops know that. It just means the DA didn't have enough evidence to pin it on you. So this guy's suffering from PTSD, and he's previously been arrested for assault. And that is a dangerous cocktail. They need to find this ticking time bomb fast.
They track Rob's movement through his finances and discover his bank card has been used 4 times at different ATMs across the city. The last withdrawal was an hour ago. That means Rob could still be in the city.
Cash withdrawals and debit purchases leave a money trail that's easy for police to track. Criminals should know better, but hey, we're not talking about the top 1% of Harvard graduates, are we? It looks like Rob is feeling the pressure, and it's causing him to get a little sloppy.
But when police obtain surveillance footage from the ATM, they get a shock. It's not Rob withdrawing money, but an unidentified white male wearing a baseball cap.
This is a curveball the detective didn't see coming. They were expecting to see Rob, not some pimply teenager. So now they have to figure out who this kid is, how he fits in the picture, and most importantly, how they can track him down.
As they search for their new suspect, the cops get a lucky break. Someone uses Rob's bank card to order Mexican food for delivery to their house.
Of all the ways to get caught, ordering a few tacos is really a new one. I'll give him points for originality, I mean, at the very least.
Investigators follow the tacos to a home in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The police gather outside the house.
Police, open up!
But when nobody answers, they break down the door.
Freeze, clear!
Police get a big surprise.
Show me your hand!
It's not Rob. It's the young man from the ATM machine.
After all these years as an investigator, nothing surprises me. But this is a twist even I wasn't expecting. The challenge with this type of case is that you have to remain kind of nimble. You have to be able to refocus and figure out your next steps. And you got to do that fast because you've got a killer on the loose.
The young man is 20-year-old Kevin, a freshman at the local community college. As the police search his house, the detective finds an important piece of evidence: Rob's bank card.
How'd you get Rob's bank card?
Listen, I don't know who Rob is, okay? I don't know anything about any of this. I have this family friend, right? And he told me, he showed me these documents and said, you just gotta go around to all these ATMs and take some cash out.
Which friend?
His name is Jack. Let me just grab one second.
Jack told him he works for a bail bond agency. He's collecting some outstanding debt.
Right there. That's him. That's Jack.
He swears on his mother's life that he has no idea who Rob is.
Jack, where can I find Jack?
Beats me, man. I mean, you know.
Instinct always plays a part in any investigation, and whenever you're interrogating a suspect, you use it to determine whether or not they are lying. So if this young kid is to be believed, and it looks like he is, it seems we've got some kind of trickster manipulating a naive teenager for financial gain. The question is, to what end?
Detectives learn that 28-year-old Jack is a fun, outgoing amateur actor with a magnetic personality. He grew up with loving parents who gave him every opportunity in life. And he has no history of violence or psychological problems. He's a big player in the local theater scene, often playing the leading man in their productions.
Oh, speak again, bright angel. For thou art as glorious to this night being o'er my head as is a winged messenger of heaven unto the white...
Jack is good at what he does, and he loves the limelight. But he's happy to be king of the community theater world rather than seeking fame and fortune in Hollywood.
Be but sworn by love, and I will no longer be a Capulet. I felt really good about that.
Yeah.
I felt really in it. Shall we do it again?
How about bigger? How about even bigger? Just to...
Yes.
All the way up and then we push it down.
I want to feel it from my soul.
Yeah. And then we'll push it down into our toes.
Yes.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
Okay.
He's engaged to fellow actress Nicole, who often plays the female lead opposite him. They've been living together for a year and are eagerly anticipating their elaborate wedding, followed by a tropical beach honeymoon. They're currently starring in a Shakespearean tragedy produced by the local theater company, My Way or Broadway. The wedding is scheduled 5 days after the close of the show.
And I will no longer be a Capulet. Whose phone went off? Seriously, we're in rehearsal. Really?
Larry!
But what police find most interesting about the thespian is not his range as an actor, but his home address. He lives one floor above Rob in the same apartment complex.
Proximity. It's a key factor when you're trying to make a link between suspects. So you got Rob, who's our murder suspect, and Jack, who is taking money out of his account. And they live next door to each other. How highly unlikely this is coincidence. I'm betting they're in cahoots. The question that needs to be answered is how and why.
Detective Young contacts Jack and asks him to come down to the police station for a chat. He refuses, telling them he's attending his bachelor party. But the police wait for no man, especially when attending his own bachelor party.
Have a seat, Jack.
Jack is accused of helping Rob escape capture.
What's up? Can you tell me about Rob?
Rob. My buddy Rob.
While Jack admits to knowing Rob, he claims he has no idea where he is. When the detectives threaten to throw him in jail, he sticks to his story.
No. Look, this is not a joke. You can miss your wedding. I'm dead serious. I will lock you up. Is that the kind of game you want to play?
Jack finally capitulates.
Okay, man. Okay, I'll tell you everything I know, okay?
Some investigators threaten suspects with a horror of jail or an arrest or something trivial like that. I used to like to threaten them with not being able to go to their kids' college graduation, their 5-year-old kid's college graduation.
I was at the theater performing in my play, Romeo and Juliet, with my fiancée. And it was a fantastic night, actually. And we went home, went to bed. I woke up the next morning to this pounding on the door, okay? I open it up, and what do I see but Rob standing in front of me, wild-eyed, like a madman. Arms flexed and veins pulsing and forehead just about to burst. He tells me, Jack, I've killed Lisa.
It's a one-man show, and Jack has the starring role. But his over-the-top performance piques Detective Young's suspicion. In other words, he doth protest too much. He paints a picture of Rob as on the run and desperate for cash.
And he asked me for money. He says, I've got to get out of here. I've got to go. Got to get away. I got to go on the run. I got to...
Where's Rob now?
No, I don't know.
I always love a good performance, and nothing gives me more pleasure than to watch a stupid criminal think he's playing the detectives. I just need a bag of popcorn, and I'm set.
Detective Young tightens the screws on Jack and collects his DNA to compare to the crime scene. He also asks for a writing sample to compare the killer's note left on Lisa's t-shirt. And when he asks to see his phone, they hit pay dirt. They discover incriminating online searches made on the week before the murder.
If I wasn't in the business of catching killers, I'd open a school for dumb criminals and teach one class and one class only. B, if you're going to commit a crime, don't, I repeat, do not do an internet search on your computer or phone on how to do it.
And so you research how to get rid of a corpse.
Feeling the heat, Jack suddenly changes his story. Again.
Okay. I went down to his place with him, Detective.
He admits to being in Rob's apartment on the night of the murder, but denies being there when the murder actually occurred.
So
here's where you can tell the professional criminals from the amateurs. The pros stick to their story, no matter what. It doesn't matter what you throw at them. The newbies crack. They keep changing their story. They scramble to come up with something that makes sense. And this, my friends, is amateur hour.
And
Jack tells Detective Young that Rob came upstairs begging for his help that night. He claims he went down to Rob's apartment, uncertain as to what he would find. But when he stepped into Rob's bedroom, he saw a horrible sight.
What did you see?
I saw Lisa dead. If he killed her, man.
Jack has been putting on quite a performance until now, but detectives have forced him into a corner. It remains to be seen whether he can act his way out of this one or not.
Lying on the bed.
When he's pressed to describe what he saw, he makes a fateful blunder.
What exactly did you see?
I saw that she'd been stabbed in the back 3 times.
Detectives know something that Jack doesn't. That's information only the killer would know.
Here's the thing. You wouldn't be able to tell how many times Lisa was stabbed just by looking at the body. With this kind of injury, there's just too much blood. The only way you would know how many times the victim was wounded is if you were there.
Can I make a phone call?
Realizing the cops are closing in, Jack asks to speak to his fiancée, Nicole, on the phone.
Nicole. Hey, it's me.
She tells him she's found a bag with bloody clothes and Rob's passport in it. She warns Jack that she's going to tell the police about it. He begs her not to.
Nicole, don't do that, okay? I can explain everything.
Remember what I said about teaching only one class to criminals? I take it back. I'm gonna make it 2. When you make a phone call from jail or a police station, the cops can hear you. They record the calls. Any attempt to talk secretly or in code is going to get you nowhere. In fact, it'll only dig yourself deeper into a pit of self-incrimination.
Okay, so I did it. I killed them both, okay? You want to know how I did it? I got him to the theater and I let him into the back. I told him I needed his help carrying some bags to my car. Said I hurt my shoulder in a rehearsal.
I can bring him down to your car?
Please, yeah, that'd be fantastic. Thank you, Rob.
As Rob bends down to pick up the bags, Jack grabs him from behind and slits his throat.
I just slit his throat. And flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.
Then he waits for Rob to bleed out. He steals Rob's wallet, cell phone, and apartment keys. That night, Jack goes on with the show, putting on an incredible performance. After the show is over, he and Nicole go back to their apartment. Posing as Rob, he sends a text message to Rob's college friend, Lisa, who Jack had previously met. Just after 11, Lisa arrives at Rob's apartment building.
Hi, Lisa, come in, please.
He tells her Rob texted him too, asking for help. He says Rob is in the bedroom.
Oh, well, you know how he is. He won't get out of bed. Let me take your coat.
He's careful to wipe his prints from the knife. Proceeds to cut off Lisa's pants with one of Rob's scissors from his first responder kit. And writes, "She's all yours," on her t-shirt. Jack then steals Rob's car keys and passport.
Despite the guy's penchant for overacting, he obviously did a good enough job to convince Lisa, who he'd only met a couple of times before, to walk into his trap. And then, in some twisted drama of his own making, he tries to destroy Rob's reputation by making him look like a rapist and a murderer.
The next day, Jack returns to the theater and dismembers Rob's body. He takes his body parts to an abandoned industrial site, where he disposes of them in several steel drums. What he tells the police next is probably the most disturbing part of the story.
It was seriously, dude. I was kind of laughing while I was doing it. It was weird, but it was kind of fun. It felt like I was in a movie, you know, like that scene. Yeah.
If we didn't know it before, we know it now. There's a lot of words I can think of for somebody like this, but why don't we just stick to the professional one? Psychopath.
Yeah, and I put all the bits in different steel drums.
But why would a seemingly well-adjusted, well-loved, well-raised young man commit such a heinous crime?
There's always gotta be a motive, even with self-absorbed psychopaths. This guy's been forthcoming so far, but that doesn't mean he's gonna give it all to the cops on a silver platter. And it doesn't mean it's gonna make sense.
And I was having a pretty difficult time. Lost in the woods, you might say, yeah? And well, I have a bit of trouble with what people call truth, because really, who gets to decide what's true? Detective? Do you?
Jack admits he's a pathological liar that has been in a downward spiral for 2 years.
Yeah, it'd be like
we do,
it'd
a
be
wedding
like
or
our engagement premiere,
That's
and
pretty cool.
so we could have our engagement photos outside.
He has allowed his passion for theater to take up all his time and energy, and has moved from one low-paying, dead-end job to another. At the time of the murder, he's 2 months behind in his rent and facing eviction. As debts slowly close in on him, he starts worrying about how he's going to pay for his upcoming wedding and honeymoon. He starts borrowing money from friends, and when that avenue runs out, his money situation becomes even more desperate.
Yeah.
But-
Should we can talk on the way.
Sure.
On the way home.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You see this a lot in my business. Desperation leads to stupidity. Once a criminal feels like the walls are closing in, they're probably not going to make good decisions from there on out. It kind of takes the desperate times call for desperate measures idea just a little too far, you know?
But Jack knows someone who has a lot of money, if only he can get his hands on it.
Yeah, no, this is it's a smart TV. Look, I'm on the internet right now. How cool is that? Yeah, so I could basically.
Rob Simons had received $80,000 as a settlement after a work injury as a first responder. When Jack finds this out, he devises a way to make that money his own.
$80,000 might seem like a small amount of money to kill for, but to Jack, this was enough to solve all of his money problems, avoid eviction, pay for his wedding, and pay for his honeymoon. From his skewed point of view, it was worth it.
I just needed money. I just needed the money.
Jack couldn't admit to his fiancée that he had no job, no money, and couldn't afford to marry her. Most people at this point would either get a job or postpone the wedding. Not Jack, though. He decides his best solution is to kill his neighbor. And then, this is where it gets even more crazy, he decides to also kill Lisa to cover his tracks.
On the day Jack was supposed to marry his fiancée Nicole, he is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. At trial, he pleads not guilty, despite having previously confessed. But the jury are not convinced by his theatrics and find him guilty of murder. Jack is sentenced to life without parole, with no more roles to play except for that of a convicted felon.
East Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon.
Evil has many different faces. This one had 2. The popular and fun-loving actor and the selfish, cold-blooded killer. Jack cast himself in the role of double murderer and probably thought he could get away with it. But his penchant for performing was too great, and he acted himself into a corner his skills couldn't get him out of. This was a crime so bizarre that he committed 2 savage murders so he could have a beach honeymoon. He wrote himself a twisted tale to star in and left 2 innocent victims in the wings. Even Shakespeare in all his glory couldn't have written this one. Stephen King, on the other hand, well, you get the picture.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, a summer town where hundreds of people are out enjoying what the beach and the bars have to offer. Local police have their hands full with drunken disorderlies and petty crimes. But what looks like a bungled burglary
down on your knees
takes investigators down a dark and twisted path that's anything but fun in the sun. Tybee Island is a beach town near Savannah, Georgia. On the off-season, it's laid back and quiet. But starting on Memorial Day weekend, its population explodes with vacationers looking to let their hair down and have a good time on and off the beach.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoy a vacation as much as anyone else, maybe more. But as a former FBI agent, I've seen tourists do some risky things they'd never think of doing at home. You know, like the saying goes, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But in my experience, it's that kind of thinking, or rather not thinking, that can get you into trouble.
All along the Strip, people are in a holiday weekend party mode. Like Carrie and Mike, who've driven down to Tybee Island for the long weekend. They met at work a year ago. Barely a month into their relationship, they move in together. This is their first vacation as a couple.
All right.
But maybe.
Wonderful.
These two hardly know each other, and now they're away for the first time in Party Central. We might be in for an episode of Couple Gone Wild.
At the bar, Carrie and Mike's private party of two is about to expand.
You guys are okay if we take this out of the bar, right?
Oh, sure, please. Free country. Welcome.
Oh, yours. I'm Lacey, by the way.
Hi.
Carrie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
Lacey and Jason are a young married couple in town for a 2-week vacation. Lacey met Jason at a party in college. She was a volleyball star. He was a Marine. 3 weeks into their relationship, they eloped to Las Vegas.
What's that saying? Fools rush in? Well, we've got two couples that are pretty impetuous when it comes to relationships. You bring them together, and it's anybody's guess what's going to go down.
Cheers.
Very quickly, the two couples hit it off. A few hours and many drinks later, the two couples are acting like they've known each other forever.
Vacation brain has a way of making everybody fast friends. Of course, throwing a whole lot of booze into the mix doesn't hurt either. But alcohol has a way of lowering inhibitions and dulling your senses. Let's just say your judgment might not be the most astute.
Why don't we head back?
Last call's approaching, but Lacey and Carrie are not ready for the night to be over.
Go back to our beach house. Love it.
That is a good idea if ever I heard one.
Lacey and Jason are staying in a beach house rental of Tybee Island's most upscale condo complex.
Hey, guys.
Oh, hey, we're on camera now.
Take a photo of us.
Oh, okay. Come here. All right. All right.
You got this.
All right, show me the magic. All right, you are a vision of loveliness. Excellent. There we are. Fantastic.
Beautiful ring.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My purse is missing. Carrie, wake up. Where's my purse?
What do you mean?
It's gone. And my bracelet was in it. It's an $8,000 diamond bracelet.
Oh.
And I saw you eyeing that bracelet at the bar.
You definitely had it at the bar.
Jason, she stole my purse.
What?
Come on, get up. Where is it? Check your pockets.
I'm not showing my pockets. We don't have, you don't have to.
This is all I had.
If you can't find it, we'll help you look for it. It's okay.
That bracelet.
Maybe you just left it at the
I saw
bar.
you. You were eyeing it at the bar.
We didn't do a thing. It's
please,
okay.
You commented on it, and I know you stole it. Where is it?
I would not.
Please calm down.
Tell me to calm down.
What?
4 total strangers under the influence. Great. Inhibitions are low, so it's no surprise emotions are running high. We're in dangerous territory now. There's no way to actually know what anyone will do or what they're really up to.
The next day, it would appear that the previous night's drama was resolved.
Come on, baby, let's go.
Ready, baby? Let's go.
Jason and Lacey head out, taking full advantage of what Tibby Island has to offer.
Okay. You are gonna go right there.
Later, surrounded by her crafting tools, Lacey documents every moment of the weekend in her scrapbook.
Perfect.
She's been scrapbooking since she was a kid, and a little obsessed with it.
Oh, what a wonderful day.
Meanwhile, Carrie and Mike are no-shows for work.
All right, so how long? Oh, okay, so ever in that 15 years, did he ever show up late? Not even miss a meeting? It's not uncommon for people to extend their vacations. Rick, am I right? Yeah, it happens all the time. Bye.
Past behavior is usually a good indicator of future behavior. People aren't as wild and crazy as they'd like to think. In fact, the vast majority act according to predictable patterns. If Carrie and Mike have a history of being dependable, then not showing up for work should raise flags.
After 3 days and still no sign of Mike or Carrie, the police launch an official investigation. They distribute posters and post them around town. Detectives go to the couple's rental condo and find their car still parked in the driveway.
Suitcases look like they're still being lived out of. Clothes on the bed.
Inside, Carrie and Mike's personal items appear untouched.
Toothbrush looks like it has been used not too long ago.
Except there's no trace of their IDs, purse, or wallets.
No IDs could mean that Carrie and Mike have taken off on their own, or they've met with foul play. Missing persons cases are some of the toughest investigations you'll get. There's no body, there's no obvious crime scene, and people don't just vanish in a puff of smoke. They usually leave some trace behind. Actually, the fact that they disappeared without a trace is evidence in and of itself. So where do you start? You start with motive. You start by digging into their background.
Detectives do background checks on the couple and discover that Mike's cousin was murdered 2 years before. They wonder if he might have killed Carrie and gone on the run.
Hi. Hi, this is Detective Suarez. Can I speak to Michelle, please? Yes, Michelle. I'm calling in regards to your ex-husband, Mike.
But all the people they interview, including his ex-wife, the mother of his daughter, swear Mike is the kindest person they know.
Kindest? Okay.
He was absolutely devoted to Carrie. He's simply not capable of murder. Detectives track Mike's credit card to a popular bar on the Strip. When they question the bar staff, nobody remembers seeing Carrie and Mike.
No evidence or witnesses. That's a surefire sign of a case that could easily go cold. This is usually when you hope to catch a lucky break. And if you're hoping for a break, you're in trouble. And if there's one thing I've learned in my career, that break usually comes when the killer gets cocky and does something stupid. They may be criminals, but they are not Einsteins.
Meanwhile, unbeknownst to the police, the last 2 people Carrie and Mike might have been seen with have an itch they need to scratch. Turns out, Jason and Lacey are anything but the all-American couple. Jason was dishonorably discharged from the Marines for bad conduct. And soon after they got married, they got into partying and serious drugs. But the novelty wears off quickly, and burglary becomes their new rush. And their preferred fix? Ripping off the adult sex store chain Busted.
As gross as it sounds, for some people, committing a crime gives them the same thrill and excitement as does sex. But get away with it once and you start to get overconfident. And that's when things can go sideways. Trust me, sooner or later, you're gonna have an off night.
Lacey and Jason have no idea they've tripped the silent alarm.
Step away from the car. Down on your knees. Put your hands behind your head. Take the masks off, now.
Caught in the act, Lacey starts to have a full-blown panic attack.
On your back.
Please. I need my anxiety meds, please.
Where are they?
They're in my purse.
A burglar that suffers from panic attacks? I'm not sure she's in the right line of work.
What is all this?
But instead of pills, he finds Carrie and Mike's IDs.
What is this?
I don't know who they are. I found them on the beach.
When police search their car, they find a loaded Glock. Things aren't looking too good for our missing couple, Carrie and Mike.
This suggests to police that Lacey and Jason are into something more nefarious than your run-of-the-mill B&Es. There's no doubt these two are not in the right line of work. Instead of laying low, they commit a petty crime. They get caught and happen to be carrying incriminating evidence on them. Can you spell D-U-M-B?
Detectives suspect Jason and Lacey of kidnapping Carrie and Mike, given the items they were carrying during their arrest. But there's no sign of Carrie or Mike at Jason and Lacey's beach house rental. Instead, they find empty bullet casings, a missing door to a bedroom, paint and cleaning supplies. And on the carpet near the bed, 2 more cartridges with what looks like dried blood on them. And on the side of the bed, blood stains.
The lengths people will go to try and cover up a crime always gets me. But a word to the wise, there's no way a lick of fresh paint will ever eliminate all the traces of blood and DNA. And if you're gonna murder someone, you might not want to leave spent bullet casings lying around in plain sight.
All right, Jason. I got a lot of time. Where are they?
As CSI continue to search the house, detectives put Jason in the hot seat.
I know you know where they are. DNA's right over here. Nothing? Why is the door missing from your door frame? Why are there cleaning supplies? Why is there paint? Doing a little remodeling? No? See if you start speaking with these. Shell casings found in your apartment. Is that for the mister? This one for the missus? Where are they, Jason?
But Jason's not saying a thing.
To make a murder conviction stick beyond a reasonable doubt, you need bodies. But if one member of this criminal tag team isn't talking, that's when you go work the other.
You know what this is right here? DNA report.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
It was a rental. It wasn't my place.
Oh, yeah? Well then, explain this. Bullet casings found in the apartment, 1 and number 2. Tell me where they are. All right? At this point, it's you against Jason. You need to do what's right.
Detectives present Lacey with a proposition. Reduce time if she tells them what happened.
Jason did it. He fired 2 bullets through the door, and...
Lacey tells police that Jason killed both victims and forced her to help him with the cover-up.
he forced me to clean it up.
She claims she's terrified of him.
You don't understand, he's crazy. When he got back from the Marines, he wasn't the same. He'd have night terrors, and he had to have everything a certain way. And he bought a gun for me for protection.
Wake up! Lacey, wake up, I got you something. Come on, get up. Are you ready? You ready? Do you want to see it? Take it.
I don't.
Take it!
He became fascinated with killing. He talked about murdering someone completely random.
Bang!
No obvious motive makes it easier to get away with it, and he wanted Lacey
Bang!
to help.
You like it? You love it, don't you?
Yeah.
It's ours now.
Okay.
I love you.
But I was scared I was gonna have to use it to him.
It's not unusual for an abused wife to fall in line because she fears retaliation from her husband. And Lacey just painted a pretty compelling picture of Jason's motive and means for targeting Carrie and Mike. They were complete strangers. Right now, he looks good as the mastermind behind the murders.
See, I gave you an opportunity to come clean, but it's fine because Lacey said you did it.
But when detectives tell Jason Lacey pinned the murder on him, he breaks his silence.
She's insane. She's completely insane.
Jason tells police that once they got married, Lacey became increasingly jealous and possessive and wanted him to cut all ties with his Marine buddies.
Hey, babe.
She would freak out if he even got home late.
Where have you been?
I was
Where have you
at work.
been, Jason?
I was at work.
You were at work? This late? And you didn't call?
Okay,
You were out with your friends, weren't you?
only for a bit. We were just
Marine
talking.
friends, weren't you? Is that who you were out with?
Babe, I'm sorry.
What did I tell you about those guys? I told you not to see them.
And I'm sorry. Baby.
Don't get near me.
I wasn't there when it happened. I was asleep in my car. I didn't even hear the shots. When I came in, they were both already dead. She was freaking out. Yeah, I helped her cut up the bodies.
Jason claims Lacey's the real killer. I can't tell you how common it is during an interrogation at the FBI for people to turn on their supposed loved ones to save their own skin. Till death do us part, right? No. Apparently, he was napping in his car when Lacey killed Mike and Carrie in a drug and alcohol-induced rage. He just helped her dismember and dispose of the bodies. Oh, is that all? No problem. Police need to find Mike and Carrie's bodies. That's the only way they're gonna figure out what really happened that night and make sure neither of these two lovebirds get away with murder.
After striking a deal for a more lenient sentence in exchange for her cooperation, Lacey tells the police she and Jason drove across state lines and dumped Mike and Carrie's bodies in a dumpster. Police find the partial remains in a landfill. The only part of Carrie they recover is her right arm. All they find of Mike is his upper torso and head. The lab removes a slug from Mike's head, and it matches the Glock the police found in Jason and Lacey's car. The evidence CSI has collected from the beach house rental is filling in the blanks. But it's Lacey's scrapbook that seals the deal. In it, there's a photo of Lacey wearing Mike's ring on a chain around her neck.
Keeping souvenirs to sit back and relive the crime over and over is sick, but it's something killers do because they're sick. But most don't lay them out in a collage with pretty paper and glitter and hearts. The evidence does not support our scrapbooker's claim that her husband did all the dirty work.
Part of Lacey's plea deal is to pass a polygraph test first.
Right down here. Crazy for scrapbooking.
But when she's confronted with the scrapbook, she cracks.
There we got you, sporty me. Nice little butterflies. Butterflies your thing? the best day ever. You guys can recreate this photo in the prison chapel. Ooh.
Fine. Met them at the bar. And they came back to the house. And things got a little out of hand.
You are gonna help me find it because you know exactly where it is.
Just calm down.
There's
nothing.
Let's help me down.
What the hell?
Shit!
I knew they weren't gonna get away. Come on. You wanna do it? Do it. Let's do it.
Do it, Jason!
You're a monster! Please.
For his part in the crime, Jason is convicted of murder and sentenced to 40 years. As for Lacey, she's convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life, plus 25 years.
What baffles me about this murder is that these two couples didn't even know each other. Carrie and Mike were simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. Lacey and Jason aren't your average killers either. It's a case of committing murder simply for kicks. When drugs and partying stopped doing it for them, they turned to burglary to get their fix. And when that wore thin, they decided to kill for sport. They needed a higher dose. They treated the entire crime like some game, absolutely no remorse. The only motive here is the thrill and excitement of not getting caught. They brought out the worst in each other. She was the dynamite and he was the match, and together, the thrill may be gone, but at least Lacey's, she's still got her scrapbook.
My life inside.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, Murphy's having a great night. Just 3 weeks ago, Murphy couldn't pay his tab.
It's me again.
But tonight, the drinks are on the house, and they feed Murphy as much alcohol as he likes.
This is costing us money.
But all is not as it seems.
Make it look like an accident.
Prohibition-era Chicago is no place for fools. Black Tuesday was a day that shook the world. The complete crash of the 1929 stock market triggered the infamous Great Depression. By 1932, 15 million Americans are out of work. And making matters worse, Prohibition was still in full force. So you couldn't even drown your sorrows in a tumbler of gin, unless it's in an illegal establishment, commonly known as a speakeasy.
Never better. Hit me with another if you don't mind. Tastes like more, as they say.
Meet Murphy. Murphy hasn't always been a shameless drunk. As a young lad fresh off the boat from County Cork, Ireland, he had big dreams. He became a beat cop in Chicago, but lost his job when the drink got the better of him. And when the economy fell off a cliff, things went from bad to worse. Now, when Murphy isn't pissed, he walks dogs and cleans windows part-time for lunch money.
Like thousands of other men in Depression-era Chicago, Murphy spends most nights sleeping rough. He's got no family, and his only friends are the fellow barflies who haunt the speakeasies of downtown Chi-Town. The poor guy owes money to almost every juice joint in town.
Give me one more, Nicky.
Forget about it. You're done. You're cut off.
Come on, Nicky, you'll get your money.
Times are tough. Do you understand?
Just one more for old time's sake.
Forget about it.
It's Nicky's joint, and like so many others, he's cut off Murphy's credit.
How you doing there, fella?
But he lets the old Irishman hang around and sweet-talk drinks from customers, charmed by his tall Irish tales.
Listen, could you help a little fella out who's down on his luck?
Nicky's struggling just as much as the next guy. There's a price war raging in Chicago's illicit liquor trade, and his business is hanging on for dear life.
Money can be a dangerous temptation. Good people will do bad things to get their hands on it. Surprise! I know of a case where a guy stabbed his best friend to death over 20 bucks, a half-eaten sandwich, and 3 cigarettes. Like they say, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Diamonds.
Thank you. Nicky and his crew are generally good guys. They come from all walks of life, but have one thing in common: the depression. Each guy is as broke as the next.
All the numbers at the bar. You tell me.
His bartender, Joe, is a former chemist who lost his shirt in the crash of '29.
It's been brutal out there.
How can it be bad to drive people around?
Danny's a chauffeur. Not too many fares these days. It's hard times for these fellas. They need a fix. But what?
Crime goes up when times are tough. You're always going to have your professional criminals, but when work is scarce and you've got nothing but time on your hands, regular folks start sniffing around. Suddenly, the idea of breaking the law, it ain't so bad.
I almost miss my ex-girlfriend, you know? She died a few months ago.
Nicky's girlfriend recently passed, and the only beneficiary to her life insurance was him. Nicky made off with $1,000, which gets him thinking.
You know what we need to do, boys? We need to make our own luck. Let's say we find you a brother.
A brother?
A brother. You take out an insurance policy on him.
What if they find someone they can create false identification for? Then Joe takes out a healthy insurance policy on his brother.
He collects a policy, and we split it 3 ways.
So you get a fake brother and wait for him to die? How does that help us?
This brother, unfortunately, has an accident.
They kill the guy and get the insurance money. They divvy up the moolah. Done.
Just as long as the autopsy says he died by accident.
I like this. I like this. You get it now?
That's how we make our luck and we make our money.
Okay, yeah.
So, do you think we can find a sucker in this town?
Yeah, Chicago's crawling with them.
Well, boys, we got some work to do to change our luck.
Nowadays, it's pretty tough to get away with an insurance scam like this. The insurance companies are all over this stuff, as are the police. But 80 years ago, not so much. Nicky and his gang of geniuses are actually on to something here. All you need to do is find somebody washed up with no family who no one would notice or care if they went missing. What they need is a nobody.
Hey, Murphy, come on over for a drink. We missed you.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Where have you been all this time?
Oh, you know, just here and there. Thank you very much.
Murphy is the perfect mark, the kind of person no one will miss. And the plan is simple. Murphy will accidentally drink himself to death, and Joe will collect the insurance money and divvy it up with the other 3 schemers. I mean, a drunk like Murphy already has 1 foot in the grave, right? Right? Or so they rationalize.
With the help of an unscrupulous insurance agent, Joe takes out no less than 3 life insurance policies on his brother, Murphy, for $3,500.
Sign it within 10 days?
$3,500 divided by 3 nets each man about $1,160.
Thank you, sir.
Worth just over $20,000 today.
Do us this favor. Sign the paper, and you can have as much as you want to drink. I promise.
I just got to sign.
That's right.
This guy signs my brother. That's it.
When you offer a whale like Murphy free booze, he'll do pretty much whatever you want. Sign an illegal document for you? No problem. Hell, he might even sign his own death warrant for that precious juice.
All right. Round of drinks for everyone.
To Murphy.
To Murphy.
To Murphy.
Cheers.
For the next week, Murphy binge drinks all day and night.
I don't know what's with this guy. That's like his 30th drink today.
I don't know, but I don't like it. This guy's unbelievable. He's not human.
Murphy is somehow actually invigorated by the 24-hour diet of liquor. He's a new man. It's like he's drinking from the elixir of life itself.
Worried about the escalating cost to the bar, Nikki and Joe start serving him the bathtub hooch, with which Chicago is awash. It's dangerous stuff that's blinded and killed many since the start of Prohibition. Surely this will finish Murphy off. But no siree. Murphy just keeps on going.
It's been over a week, and this guy still ain't done. All I asked was for someone stupid and simple. What do I find? Lazarus.
That's why we're using this.
A tin can?
No, it's antifreeze, you idiot.
You got car problems?
No. I used to be a chemist, all right. I'm gonna mix together a little cocktail. It's gonna put this prick out for good.
Hey.
Huh? Huh?
Huh?
Yeah?
Huh?
Nikki and the gang are losing patience. A little antifreeze mixed into his whiskey ought to do the trick.
You feeling all right there, Murph?
Never better. Hit me again, if you'd be so kind.
Not even a drink laced with antifreeze slows Murphy down.
You guys want to explain to me how he's still alive? This is costing us money. Huh?
I don't know, Joe. What happened to your fancy cocktail idea?
I don't know, Danny. I don't see you doing anything. This guy's a machine. Any ideas? That's what I thought. Useless.
All right, listen. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna pour him a full glass of antifreeze. No mix, no nothing. Straight, just the antifreeze. We gotta have this guy dead fast.
The gang is now banking that this is the remedy that finally does him in. Murphy is costing them more money each day in alcohol, and the upcoming premiums are really going to bite. And these boys need a solid return on their investment.
Hey, Murphy. We got some special hooch for you today.
Well, lovely.
Oh, yeah.
Do we ever? Here you go, Murph.
I'd say no, but it'd be impolite. Smells a bit funny.
Yeah, it's just the strength. It's strong.
It's not a great taste, eh, Joe?
It does the job, though, Murph.
That's good stuff. Expensive. Come on, Murph. Attaboy.
Oh.
Seems like Nikki and Joe have finally done it. A full glass of antifreeze is all it took in the end. Now they have to call a doctor and tell them that Murphy just drank himself to death.
Hello, Doc? Yeah, it's Nicky. He fell over like a sack of potatoes. He's done. Done like dinner. Huh? Hang on. Doc, I'm gonna call you back.
Hit me again.
What's it gonna take to put Murphy down? I mean, this guy is indestructible. It's like all those years of hard drinking has pickled him. Not even some nasty bathtub gin or a pint of antifreeze has made a dent, and antifreeze usually does. This guy isn't mortal, and the longer he lives, the more he drinks through Nikki's measly profits. If they want the life insurance money, they gotta make it look accidental.
I don't get it. Suggestions. Booze doesn't kill him. Antifreeze doesn't kill him. Come on. Give me some ideas here.
All right. So this one time I was working for a florist.
Danny recalls a story of a young man who dropped dead after eating raw oysters.
Raw oysters.
Yeah. What can we lose?
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's feed them raw oysters. Let's go.
You hungry, Murph? Well, that's very kind of you. As always, I wouldn't say no. Lovely.
You enjoying that, Murphy?
That's good. What's in it?
They move from oysters to rancid sardines, topped off with some delicious carpet staples and pieces of shaved metal for good luck.
Just like Mother used to make.
They try more gourmet sandwiches, this time with tacks and ground glass.
A bit crunchy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the seeds, Murph, and the bread.
That's lovely.
Still nothing. Murphy seems better than ever. Desperate, they get risky and top up Murphy's drinks with rat poison, turpentine.
Oh, like the tears of an angel.
Horse liniment. Sure, this could raise a suspicion of murder, but they've got to do something, and fast.
This be again.
Murphy knocks it all back like a champ.
Murphy is costing them money. With every day that Murphy stays alive, they lose money. What a jerk. With 3 sets of expensive insurance policies out on him, the premiums are starting to add up. It's becoming a bad return on their investment. There's a ticking clock to this crime. They have to kill Murphy before he's no longer valuable. It's a good thing these clowns aren't bankers.
At this point, Nicky and the gang are at a loss. The old drunk is superhuman. The man's stomach is a trash compactor. Clearly, a new approach is needed. Nicky explains to the guys that his girlfriend froze to death sleeping outside overnight. Should do the trick with Murphy. Given Murphy's superhuman status, they want to take things up a notch.
Oh, this guy's gonna be so blotto, he's not gonna know what hit him. Oh, yeah.
Man?
Take off my shirt.
Gonna call.
Yeah, just take it off. Hurry up, I'm freezing. Oh, yeah. He's gonna be like an ice cube tomorrow. Let's go.
Let's get out of here.
These idiots will do just about anything to get rid of their good pal Murphy before it doesn't make any more financial sense. They already tried a broken glass sandwich with a rat poison chaser. Sure, why not leave him out overnight in the middle of January? You talk about cold-blooded.
The next day, the gang eagerly scans the papers for news of a homeless man found frozen to death overnight. But there's nothing to be found.
It's a bit chilly out there, fellas.
Full disclosure, I don't have a medical degree to back this up, but over my years at the FBI, we encountered a number of freaks of nature that could take more punishment than regular people, like a 120-pound woman lifting a burning truck off her son who was trapped beneath it. Murphy, rest assured, is definitely one of these types.
The gang is forced to call in outside expertise. One of Nicky's clients goes by the name of Tough Tommy. He's just the guy they need.
You need to take this Murphy character out.
Tommy, you don't understand. This guy's tough as nails.
Use a bigger hammer.
Tough Tommy is a real gangster, not like Nicky and his pals.
Ain't he a driver? You got a car.
Tommy offers up the easiest solution possible. Run Murphy over with a car. Happens all the time, especially to drunks wandering the streets at night. Makes a ton of sense.
Real simple. It should be easy for you guys.
Come to think about it, why didn't Nicky and the guys start with this? Shaved metal sandwiches with a shot of turpentine?
It's the middle of the night when Nicky and Joe put their latest plan into action. Murphy is too blotto to know what's going on.
Let's go. All right, Danny, go get the car. Hold him up straight. Rev it up, Danny. Rev it up. Come on, fast.
Driving full steam ahead right into the poor bastard wasn't enough. Seriously? They figure they better back over poor Murphy a couple of times just for good measure. I guess they gotta go for broke at this point.
The next day, there's nothing in the newspapers about the body of a run-over drunk being found, so they call around. But there's no corpse matching Murphy's description in any local morgue.
Now these guys have a real problem. Without a body, they can't collect, and Murphy, it seems, has vanished and taken the insurance money with him. At this point, they've got no choice but to find Murphy, dead or alive.
Fearing and half expecting he actually survived, they call every hospital in the city.
Yeah, I got a friend of mine. He's around 50 years old, big blue eyes, Irish accent, smells like liquor. He's gotta be there. What? Double check. Come on, this is the last hospital in the whole city. He's gotta be there. No, that's impossible.
Day after day passes, with no sign of Murphy.
And that home run, bottom of the ninth, what a play.
Hey, Nicky.
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm dying for a drink.
That's impossible.
You wouldn't believe what happened to me. I woke up in the hospital. They told me I'd been hit by a car.
You don't say.
Yeah. The policeman didn't find any ID on me, so they figured I was a bum. They didn't register me.
Uh-huh.
Aside from a crick in the neck, I'm as fit as a fiddle.
Uh-huh.
And I sure am a thirsty fiddle.
Uh-huh.
You wouldn't mind setting me up for a drink, would you?
Oh, God.
Murphy is truly indestructible. People are talking about him like he was the Rasputin of Chicago. Hell, I'd believe it. Word on the street is that the old Irish drunk just cannot be killed.
Unbelievable. I can't believe this guy is still alive. He's like a freak of nature.
I'll tell you what we do. Put a bullet in his head.
We can't put a bullet in his head, all right? The insurance policy doesn't pay. Then all this work goes down for nothing. We need a home run. 100%.
The gang is frantic. They have to kill Murphy now, or they'll never get the return on their investment. They need a sure thing. They try something even Murphy won't be able to survive. A pillow soaked in chloroform will both keep him unconscious as well as ensure death by suffocation.
Sweet dreams, Murphy. Done now, huh?
Stubborn prick.
Bastard.
In the end, not even Murphy can survive massive heart failure caused by suffocation. They take Murphy's dead body to Dr. Lynch, a crooked doctor they promised to cut in on the insurance money. Pneumonia is listed as the cause of death. Joe immediately sets out to collect the insurance money.
Not sure why these geniuses are patting themselves on the back for finally getting the job done. It only took them a couple dozen tries. You don't get a medal for that. And in the end, they resorted to suffocating the guy. Oh yeah, that looks real accidental. People accidentally suffocate all the time.
It took months and more than 24 attempts before Nicky and the gang finally killed Murphy. They spent $1,875 to cash in on a $3,500 policy.
Murphy might be gone, but unfortunately for the gang, he is far from forgotten. Rumors of the indestructible barfly, now widely known across town as Iron Murphy, reach the coppers, and to them, it looks a lot like murder. They open an investigation, and the remaining 2 policies are put on ice.
Murphy's body is exhumed, and it doesn't take long for the authorities to determine that Murphy did not die of natural causes. The police grilled Dr. Lynch, the shady character who signed Murphy's death certificate, stating the cause of death as pneumonia.
I'm not surprised the good doctor sings like a canary when the police put the screws to him. After all, this is a guy who signs fake death certificates to earn some extra scratch. And it isn't long before the gang is rounded up and dubbed the Syndicate of Sin by the press.
The trial was front-page news and the talk of the town. Dr. Lynch gets off easy and is sent to the big house for 3 months. Nicky, Joe, and Danny don't make off quite so lucky. All 3 are given the death penalty.
Electric chairs back then were notoriously unreliable, and it often took a few tries before they did the job. Ironically, Nicky, Joe, and Danny all fry on the first attempt, but isn't that just their luck? The so-called Syndicate of Sin thought they'd hatched the perfect get-rich-quick scheme, but they didn't count on the insane fortitude of Iron Murphy, or the fact that all 3 of them are grade A idiots.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, when a man obsessed with racing muscle cars is found burnt to death in his garage, it looks like a freak accident. But when investigators dig deeper, they discover his death wasn't bad luck,
I told you I don't know anything.
I think you do.
but part of a sinister plan. Randy just loves his muscle cars. Happiness is a six-pack, good tunes, and working on his V8 engine ahead of the next race. Randy's a fixture on the muscle car drag racing scene. People like him, and he's highly respected for his technical know-how. It's an expensive hobby. Those superchargers and high-performance V8 engines cost a small fortune. So Randy always needs money. And a few years ago, he figured out how to line his coverall pockets with some extra cash. Back in the late 1990s, Randy is running his own mechanic shop. He's got a head for business, and he likes being his own boss. But Randy just isn't making enough money to support his car obsession. So he starts cheating on his business taxes and overbilling his customers. Small amounts, but they add up big time. Tens of thousands of dollars in a few short years. Even so, Randy figures the feds won't notice, and for a while, he gets away with it.
Lots of people have expensive hobbies. Planes, horses, sailing, you name it. In Randy's case, it's muscle cars, a man after my own heart. But people who indulge in these pursuits generally have lots of money. Randy, not so much, even if he is cheating the government.
With his hobby growing and his bills piling up, the pressure on his marriage builds.
I hate coming in here. It's disgusting.
What do you want now?
But I have to talk to you, and I
For
can't
what?
find you at the house. You're never at home anymore. You're
I'm
always
busy.
here. Look, have you opened the mail lately? Have you opened the mail?
I told you not to go through the mail.
Listen, somebody's got to pay attention to where the money's going, Randy, and it's all going out. What is it?
As Kristen pleads and argues with him to sell off parts of his collection, she discovers he actually invested more, renting a second garage.
This is an investment. This whole place is an investment. It's a business.
Oh, this is our future.
This is our future.
Randy, you couldn't get lucky in this thing when you bought it. What makes you think this is going to do anything for you now?
As an FBI agent, I've seen it 1,000 times. You can go from passionate to criminal about something in the blink of an eye. But here's a bit of free advice. If you do need money to pursue your passion, don't rip off the federal government. We take it personally. We will catch you.
Randy's arrested for tax evasion. He pleads guilty and avoids prison, but he's saddled with a whopping $300,000 in fines and back taxes. He's worse off financially than ever before.
After a taste of justice, in other words, getting caught red-handed, some people do get scared straight. Randy might have bet on crime and lost, but at heart, he's still a businessman. He can earn a clean dollar. And now he really has no choice, does he?
It's the early 2000s, and the housing market is booming. Interest rates are low, and the mortgages are practically being given away.
The construction sector has a big problem.
Really?
More demand than can be supplied.
Come on, that's easy.
Randy sees an opportunity. He's good with his hands, and he knows machines.
Oh, I can do that. Jeez, that's easy money.
He goes into the house contracting business, leasing out construction equipment. It turns out he's good at it, and the new business goes gangbusters. Randy can't wait to get back on the street racing circuit, something those back tax payments have put a serious damper on. But Randy's good intentions are no match for the worst economic meltdown in decades. Like millions of Americans, Randy is blindsided by the Great Recession of the late 2000s.
Breaking news. Stocks all over the world are tanking because of a mortgage lender crisis.
After digging himself out of one financial hole,
The Dow is expected to open down 300 to 400 points. It's only going to get worse.
he now finds himself facing complete ruin.
So what are you going to do now, huh?
About what?
What are your big plans, Randy? How are you going to fix this?
Fix what?
The fact that we're broke? Now we have nothing. We have less than nothing. We have less than we had the last time I said we had nothing.
Talking about you live in a nice house, you get your hair done, you get your nails done, you got nice clothes.
Well, you don't seem to hear me, Randy, because every time I try and tell you, please stop spending money we don't have, Randy, you don't hear me. And now look where we are. Now look, this has ruined us.
Here's some law enforcement gospel. Money can drive people to do bad things. Surprise. But it's not always greed that motivates them. I mean, sometimes it's good old-fashioned desperation that pushes ordinary people over the edge.
When the fire is put out, responders are confronted with a horrific scene. It appears Randy has had an accident and is burnt to death in his own garage. To Detective Wilson, the responding investigator, it looks like Randy was working when a shelf fell, pushing him down to the concrete floor, where he struck his head and was knocked unconscious.
The unit appears to have knocked the lamps over, which started the fire.
Some guys just can't catch a break. Randy hustled the feds and got pinched. Then he went straight, but his business went bust. But then one day, pow, lit up like a Christmas tree. So you've got a body, you've got the ID, but you still need to make sure it's them. That's really something you don't want to get wrong. That's why the FBI sends agents like me to autopsies. But in this case, the body's burned beyond recognition. You can't even get fingerprints. That means you're left with dental records and DNA.
Hello.
As Detective Wilson takes a closer look at the fire scene, things just aren't adding up.
What? The circuit breakers are all off. There's no way that these lamps had any juice to start a fire.
Investigators also discover traces of a volatile fire accelerant. Not the kind of product you want in a closed space like a garage. Randy would have had no use for it in any case.
Randy was a great mechanic, which means he was a safety-conscious mechanic. So everything's highly suspicious. Investigators now have to wonder if Randy was, in fact, murdered, and if the fire was just a cover-up.
This was no accident.
So if it is a murder, who would want to kill old Randy? I mean, he didn't have any money, and the muscle car scene isn't exactly known for its blood feuds. Besides, everyone liked the guy. So who and why?
In all suspected murder cases, the culprit is often someone close to the victim. Armed with Randy's life insurance policy, Detective Wilson pays Kristen a visit.
Tell me, does that look familiar?
I think I'd remember a $5 million life insurance policy, Detective.
Interesting.
It turns out Randy had taken out a life insurance policy only weeks before the fire. A big one, as in 7 figures big. And the sole beneficiary? Randy's wife, Kristen.
Detective Wilson asks Kristen about the state of their marriage.
Well, we had our ups and downs, like most people. He spent a lot of money we didn't have on his toys.
Excuse me. Hello.
Randy's DNA profile and dental records are in.
All right, I'll be right there. We're not done here.
I have seen my share of grieving widows, and I'm as sympathetic as the next guy. But when your husband's worth millions when dead, be real, that's motive right there. I mean, it's a lot more than the resale value of those toys of his.
Hang on a minute. These are different.
Randy's dental records don't match the teeth from the body. Investigators now have to answer 2 questions. Just whose body is that on the coroner's cooling board? And where is the real Randy?
Detective Wilson checks missing person reports to see if anyone has disappeared recently. If so, it could be a lead on the identity of the John Doe at the morgue. It turns out someone has disappeared. A 22-year-old local man named Keith. His sister had reported him missing only a few days before.
Thank you for coming in. I understand your brother's missing?
I have no idea where he is. That's a picture of him. He took some job with some local contractor. He was trying to save money for school. Also, he never sends texts, and look. He always calls, and he just said he was leaving town. We live together. He would never do something like this.
You know, it's not a crime to go missing, and if you're of age, the police aren't even obligated to look for you. But if the circumstances of your disappearance are suspicious, well, that all changes. Then we step in. And in the case of this young man, Keith, the circumstances are a little more than iffy. Sure, it could be a coincidence that he vanished the day after he showed up for the job, but honestly, cops don't believe in coincidence. We believe in evidence.
Detective Wilson takes a DNA sample from Keith's sister to compare with the DNA from the body. And it's a match. The body they pulled out of Randy's garage is actually Keith.
When times get tough, most people put on a brave face and get on with it. Not Randy. He thinks if he plays dead, his problems will just go away. But Randy, it ain't that easy. To pull it off, Randy needs a stand-in, someone whose cadaver people will think is actually him. Someone whose identity he can steal. Someone like Keith.
With the clock ticking, Detective Wilson launches a massive manhunt.
Be on the lookout for a white male, 6 feet, 200 pounds, early 50s, brown hair, maybe driving the victim's car. Tag 647.
Within an hour, Randy's photo is all over the news, along with a description of Keith's car. Detective Wilson questions Randy's wife, Kristen, again.
All right, Kristen, no more fooling around. See this? This is a search warrant.
And this time, he doesn't hold back.
Kid is dead, and you are going to tell me everything that happened to him right now.
I told you I don't know anything.
I think you do. This is evidence.
No,
I'm
you
seizing
can't. Please.
This says I can. Wait a minute. These dates. Is that Randy? Your dead husband? Sending you emails from the great beyond?
Emailing your supposedly dead husband. Really? Not the best move, Kristen.
Even with the email evidence, it's not helping police find Randy, who is still at large. But widespread news coverage of the case prompts a witness to come forward. A witness named Jim.
Can I help you?
Detective Wilson.
Yes, I'm Wilson.
The guy you're looking for. The guy all over the
What
news.
guy?
Randy. That guy in the picture. I know him.
You know this guy?
I was the person that Randy wanted to murder.
Well, I gotta tell you, you do look an awful lot alike.
Jim's claim that he was Randy's original choice of victim now makes perfect sense.
All right. Where did you first meet him?
Jim tells Detective Wilson that he answered an ad that someone was looking for help with some odd jobs around the house. And that someone was Randy.
Hi, Jim. Good to see you again.
Good to see
How
you.
are you?
Good, good.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, my pleasure.
Great.
and he asked me to do some work in his yard or help some stuff around the house.
Odd jobs, all right, yeah.
And he had this large application, 8 or 9 pages.
9 pages?
Very specific questions about my height, my weight.
Tattoos. Yeah, I might have a big heart on my ass. Come on,
Well,
man.
I don't want to see that, but...
Whoa. Bank card number?
Wait a minute. Are you telling me on this job application he asked you for your PIN number?
Yes.
What kind of job application asks for your measurements and your bank card access code? Not even the FBI application is that detailed. I'm thinking Randy is casing Jim as a body double and wants to get his appearance down pat. See, Randy needs a lookalike to fake his own death and get his wife to cash in on that $5 million life insurance policy. That's a good chunk of change to start a new life with.
All right. We appreciate you coming by.
Talk to you later.
Okay, absolutely. See you after.
Get this, on the day Jim is supposed to show up, he sleeps in. You see a lot of close calls in my business, but this is one for the books. And so how does Keith come in to take Jim's place? Well, Randy's careful. He wanted a backup plan in case things went south with Jim. So Randy offered Keith some pickup work too, essentially putting him on call for his own death. And when Jim flaked out, Keith got that call.
Detective Wilson works up a scenario explaining what happened to Keith that night.
Well, so thanks for stopping by. What I thought we'd do today is we'd give this one a quick tune-up. I got a guy coming by later. He's interested in buying it.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Great. So if you grab me that monkey wrench off the back bench there.
Sure, just the one on the shelf there?
You got her. We can get started, and we'll be good to go.
Cool. Sounds good to me.
Randy chloroforms Keith to avoid evidence of a struggle. He switches IDs with Keith. And then takes his car keys. Douses the scene with accelerant. And lights it up. With the manhunt for Randy in high gear, Detective Wilson gets a call from an eagle-eyed patrol officer.
Wilson.
The officer says he's noticed the same car parked outside a motel on his patrol route for days. No one stays at that motel for more than a couple of hours, and the plates are a match for Keith's car.
Okay, I know the place. Don't do anything, stay right there. I'll be right there.
Detective Wilson races to the motel where Randy's been holed up.
Randy, it's Detective Wilson. I just want to talk.
Get lost.
Your wife, Kristen, she's very worried about you.
Why, is she here?
She's waiting at home. Listen, we just need to settle this peacefully.
I told you to get lost.
Randy, put the gun down. I'm serious. Don't make this any worse.
Randy's problem was always money. A lust for money drove him to cheat the government. A lack of money made him desperate enough to try and cash in on his own death. Randy thought he could leave his messed up life behind like so much dust in his rearview mirror. He didn't care if he killed someone to do it. He went from tax cheat to killer And in the end, he was a coward. He took the easy way out.
And what about Kristen? The family of the victim sued Kristen in a civil suit, where it was found that she had conspired in the scheme to collect on her husband's $5 million insurance policy.
As for Jim, that was one job he was glad to sleep through. But he'll never shake how close he came to being Randy's very dead ringer. There's a nifty word for faking your own death. We call it pseudocide. And you'd be surprised by how often people try it. But if you ever feel like leaving it all behind and starting over, here's an idea. Don't whack anyone in the process.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, wealthy expats Adam and Talia are living the beautiful life. But when cracks start to appear in their picture-perfect marriage, things get very ugly. Police will have to sift through a mass of secrets and lies
What are you doing?
to unearth the foul truth. Dubai. Ultra-modern, ultra-rich, and ultra-crowded. There are over 2 million people, with a big community of expats living the high life.
Expat communities are strange places. You've got professionals that make a nice living in the West, but then you get someplace like Dubai, and you're launched into a whole nother stratosphere. Fancy digs, fancy schools, lots of servants. On the surface, it looks like the beautiful life. But a lot of money doesn't mean bad things can't happen.
I'm just so worried he's been gone for 2 days. This is what he looks like.
How long have you been married?
10 years.
Canadian expat Talia's rich engineer husband Adam has been missing for 2 days. They met over a decade ago on winter break while they were both poor grad students.
So then I was coming down and this girl, boom, right into me.
Adam is immediately attracted to this outgoing and feisty girl, while Talia is impressed with Adam's smarts and ambition. They get married soon after they meet and move into Adam's tiny student apartment. While he studies for his master's in engineering, Talia drops out of grad school and works 2 jobs to support them.
Like the saying goes, behind every successful man is a woman. Talia is giving up her own dreams of becoming an architect and pinning them on her husband's future. Romantic? Well, maybe. Sacrifices are all well and good, but as time goes by, resentments can rear their ugly head. My advice? Consider a prenup.
Upon graduation, Adam lands a job at a world-class engineering firm, and they can finally stop living like poor students. They're able to buy their first house and start a family.
Hi.
How are my girls?
Oh, she's doing so great.
Oh, bye. I love you
We'll
guys.
see you soon.
All
Love
right,
you too.
Take care.
Bye.
Adam works his way up and is eventually headhunted by a rival firm who transfer him to Dubai. Here, he's overseeing massive construction projects. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. Once in Dubai, Adam and Talia are launched into a completely different world than they've ever known before. Adam's salary is extravagant, and they live in a luxury apartment complex. Talia's daily life is now a whirlwind of spa treatments, expensive lunches, and shopping sprees.
I know what you're thinking. Nothing wrong with success and money. I get it. But a whole lot of money all of a sudden has a way of bringing out the worst in people. Some deal with newfound wealth by spending it like it's going out of style, while others become obsessed with holding on to it.
After a few years, Adam becomes a senior executive. His salary doubles, but so does his workload, meaning he spends less and less time at home with his wife and child.
So he's a workaholic and she's a shopaholic. Sounds like a perfect match, huh? But it's a slippery slope. Talia isn't getting what she needs from her hubby, so she's looking for a way to feel better, and there's nothing like the rush of retail therapy. And Adam's so obsessed with success that he's letting his entire family down. It is bound to come to a head sooner or later.
Things haven't been good for a while. He's just working so much, and things just started getting kind of rough.
Rough? What do you mean?
Talia tells the police that she and Adam were having troubles. He was drinking more heavily.
Hey.
But more disturbing was that he had become more and more controlling.
Talia, I warned you.
What?
Look at this credit card bill. It's atrocious.
What am I supposed to do? You're gone all the time.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sick of it. You know what? I'm done.
No, I'm done with you.
The last time they were together, they had an argument about money, and Adam became violent. Talia claims her husband left after he assaulted her. She thought he went out to cool off, but he never came home.
Do you want to press charges?
No. Just find him.
Police look into Adam's disappearance. They find out that Adam hasn't been to work on site for 2 days. Colleagues are aware that he and Talia have been experiencing marital problems and wonder if Adam moved out. But when police check hotels, he's nowhere to be found. They check all the local hospitals, but there's no sign of Adam. They also discover he hasn't used his credit card in a few days, and there's no evidence that he's left the country.
It's possible Adam doesn't want to be found, and he's covered his trail. He's rich enough to do that. But you also got to look at the person's patterns of behavior. This is a guy who practically lives at work, and if he's not there, you got to consider he might have met with foul play. So where do you start looking? You start where he was last seen.
Police question Adam and Talia's maid about her whereabouts on the night Adam disappeared.
Well, it was actually my night off, so I wasn't working. I spent the night at a friend's house.
And is there anything strange you noticed a day or two before he disappeared?
No, nothing too strange.
It's a dead end. The detective also questions employees at Adam and Talia's apartment complex, but no one has seen Adam. While in the utility room, the detective catches a whiff of something suspicious. Inside the room, he's hit with the overpowering smell of something rotting.
During investigations in the FBI, I've been in some stinky situations, literally. Nothing like going through a sewage drain or a garbage dumpster to make your day. We used to call those trash covers. I can't say you get used to it, but it's part of the job. Talk about following your nose. This could have been just rotting garbage. But as an investigator, when something's off, you check it out. And this was not a waste of time. From the decomposition, I'd say Adam has been dead for at least a few days. Right around the time his wife said she last saw him.
Now the police have found Adam's body. They need to find out how it got in the utility room.
Bro, slow, man.
According to the maintenance logs, the day shift workers brought the box down to the utility room 4 days before.
Bro, what are you doing, man? It's heavy, it's heavy. Let's go, man.
Detective Abdullah learns that Talia is the one who asked to store something in the utility room. Talia's claim that Adam assaulted her and disappeared after a fight is now in question. She goes from frantic wife to prime suspect in his death. When police search Talia and Adam's apartment, they find traces of blood in the bedroom.
Hiding evidence in plain sight? Not very smart. Talia's had plenty of time to get rid of it and clean up. But what would she tell the hired help? And heaven forbid that she would clean up after herself. Money does change people, huh? It would appear that Talia was involved in Adam's death. But what exactly happened? That's the million-dollar question.
I did it.
Talia admits to killing Adam.
He was hurting me all the time. You have to believe me. I was scared.
But she claims it was in self-defense.
I was scared to tell the police.
She didn't tell police the entire story before. She says Adam had been abusing her for years.
Domestic abuse has nothing to do with status. Rich or poor, it can happen in any relationship. An abused woman can be really great at covering up the state of their violent marriage, so even people close to them are unaware of it.
Talia tells police that on the outside, their marriage looked happy. But in reality, it was all a sham. According to Talia, Adam was consumed with his job and never home. When he was around, he was abusing alcohol.
I thought you stopped drinking.
Really? This again?
You need to stop.
Or else what?
You need to stop. It's for your own good.
You can't tell me what to do. But I can tell you.
He was getting worse, and she was worried sick for her kid and herself.
Talia, what is this? Do you have any idea how much money you're spending?
She says that he was fixated on money and monitored her spending to the cent.
I warned you.
And one night, he went berserk.
What are you doing? Adam, what are you doing?
She says that when Adam chased her with the golf club, she had no choice but to defend herself.
But the books.
I don't remember the box. I don't remember.
Not remembering what you did after a traumatic event isn't unusual. Dissociative amnesia is a known stress response for victims of abuse. The brain literally shuts out what it can't handle. You always want to give the alleged victim of abuse the benefit of the doubt. But right now, we only have Talia's word against that of a dead man. Police need to figure out if it all adds up.
Police learn that Talia is the sole beneficiary of her husband's $20 million estate.
They're married with a kid, so it's no surprise she's his heir. But is that motive enough for murder? I mean, why not just divorce him and get her half? But for an abuse victim, leaving your husband is not always easy, especially if there's a kid involved. But if this is actually premeditated murder, all I can say is Talia, she's playing the long game. She has to convince everyone that she was the real victim.
When they go through Adam's accounts, police learn that he'd installed spyware to track Talia's emails and spending, and hired a private investigator who's dug up some pretty damning evidence.
A guy has to be pretty controlling and paranoid to spy on his wife and have her followed. So Talia's claim of being a victim, well, that's looking good. But she's having an affair, which doesn't look so good. But it's not unusual for an unhappy spouse to go looking outside the marriage for attention they're craving. The lover may not be a new designer purse, but he's something. Police need to find Loverboy and figure out whether or not he's involved in Adam's unfortunate demise.
Police go through Talia's cell phone records and learn that her lover's name is Brody, but he's no local. He lives in Canada. They met during Talia's regular trip back with the kid to escape the suffocating summer heat of Dubai.
Wow, thank you very much. I'm gonna try these on.
Yeah.
Wow, I love them.
Good. I'm so
Wow,
glad.
thank you very much.
No surprise, he loved them. But who wouldn't love $1,500 designer sunglasses and a rich girlfriend who's starving for a little bit of affection? And the bonus? The husband is halfway around the world. Sounds like a perfect setup. Only Adam's no regular husband.
According to the PI, Adam was infuriated to find out his wife was having an affair and lavishing him with expensive gifts. He sets out to take care of the situation.
Honey, please. We can fix this.
No. We've tried.
We've come so far. I'm a changed person. Please give us another shot. For the family.
Smooth move, Romeo. If Adam is an abusive husband, this is a classic ploy. Ask for forgiveness, kiss and make up, but it's all a control thing. Let's see how long the honeymoon period lasts.
Adam and Talia go to counseling and work on their marriage. Adam promises to be a better husband and father, and Talia promises to cut ties with her lover.
Adam, when are you coming to bed?
I've got work to do.
But soon, Adam is back to his old workaholic ways. And Talia turns back to Brody for comfort.
So Adam never removed the spyware from his wife's devices, and she never severed ties with Brody. There is not a whole lot of trust going on here. And you know what they say, once you lose trust in a marriage, things are gonna get ugly.
So was it murder for money and a new life with Brody? Or was it self-defense?
We have two versions of events. So how do we cut through the secrets and lies and get to the truth? Well, there's this handy tool called science.
The autopsy reveals that Adam was stabbed 8 times. Each wound was deep enough to kill him. It shows that he was lying down when attacked. The autopsy also reveals extremely high levels of sedatives in Adam's body when he died, and a green liquid in his stomach.
Now this shoots Talia's claim that Adam attacked her right out of the water. The maid was out for the night, so Talia was alone with Adam. It's likely that she drugged him and bam, cleaned his clock for real. So while fingers point to Talia as her husband's killer, the cops still need to make it stick. And for that, they need to trace the drugs back to the loving wife.
When forensics sweeps Talia's personal laptop, they find some suspicious internet searches.
Toxicology report. How do you explain that?
I don't know what this is.
Internet search history. Drugs? Overdoses? What about that?
When she's questioned about her search history for drugs, Talia breaks down.
I told you what I had to deal with. These are mine. They're my pills.
Talia tells police she was so despondent about her marriage and the abuse that she contemplated taking her own life with prescription pills.
Even though the evidence is looking more and more damning, Talia's got a plausible explanation for everything. Abused wife or black widow? That's the $64,000 question.
With Talia sticking to her plausible story of self-defense, the police are stuck. But then, police catch an unexpected break when the maid comes into the station.
So what do you have for me?
Well, Mr. Adam and Mrs. Talia, they were having marital problems, but Mr. Adam was never abusive, though, never violent.
Now knowing her employer's deceased and not simply missing, she volunteers more information on what she saw days before the murder. Adam was filing for divorce, but his lawyer accidentally had the draft documents sent to their home.
This came for you.
Jerry! No. Once Talia found out about the divorce, she was quite upset.
Okay then, that lawyer has some splaining to do. No secret that divorce brings out the worst in people. Conscious uncoupling is a fairy tale. Resentments flare up and people do extreme things to get back at each other. She sacrificed for him, and now that he's at the top of the ladder, he's leaving her behind. And she's one desperate housewife.
Shannon tells police that after drinking his regular kale chia seed smoothie that Talia insisted on preparing that day, Adam became so tired and woozy that he had to take a nap.
Talia had Shannon serve her hubby a smoothie laced with enough drugs to fell an elephant. Yes, what kind of person would poison their husband? Well, one that's dead set on winning the breakup, that's who.
I did love you.
Apparently, Talia called Loverboy 30 times the next day just to hear his voice. She might have used her time more productively and concocted a more foolproof alibi. Shannon tells the cops her employers had arguments, but Adam never abused anyone.
Based on the maid's additional information, police arrest Talia. She's later convicted of murder and sentenced to 25 years in prison.
According to his PI, Adam suspected that his wife might have been trying to poison him for months. But when the PI urged him to get tested, he said he felt guilty about his suspicions. He didn't think Talia was capable of such a thing. So what did we learn? Try not to take the people you love for granted, because you never know what someone is capable of, even your nearest and dearest. And kale chia smoothies aren't always as healthy as they look.